I think it's pretty funky, you know. I'm biased because it's my song. I dig it, you know, and it just happened well, you know. It's a nice funky sound on it.
What was the effect right at the beginning? We're going to hear in a minute. Right at the beginning, the sort of whistling tone.
Oh, it's me going on tape echo.
All right, it's sort of compressed then, is it?
No, it's not compressed. It's just I was sort of going through my hands like that. We probably put something out as a single out there. I think that's about the best track on the album, actually, George's track.
Sure, I agree that both George's songs on this LP are probably the most commercially written.
Yeah.
Is it a good or a bad thing?
I think it's very good, you know, because they're not sort of the good commercial, you know. They're still funky tracks, both of them. You know. Yeah, it's a typical McCartney sing-along or whatever you call them. You know. He did quite a lot of work on it. I was ill after the accident when they did most of that track, and I believe they really ground George and Ringo into the ground recording it. You know.
This and of course this track, the next one, "Oh Darling," is
oh yeah, that's
sort of 58 job.
Yeah. Well, we like that stuff, you know. Oh darling.
So,
no, Separate's about the bottom of the sea, you know, and getting away from it all.
And this is in fact the only song that Ringo wrote.
Yeah, well, it'll be a few years before his production is going as fast as ours. It took George a few years.
And is this the only track on the LP that Ringo sings on as well, John?
Yeah, I think he does a bit of harmony here and there, because at the time I was away, they laid a few harmony tracks on some of the medley bit.
Oh, yes.
You know, so yeah. I think Ringo's doing a bit of harmony here and there, too.
It's a sing-along sort of song.
It's a ring-along, sing-along. Yeah,
yeah, it's very good, folks.
Yes.
Octopus's Garden.
It's pretty heavy, the ending, you know. Could we use the Moog synthesizer on it?
Oh, that's what all that electronic bit
it's,
is.
The range of the sound is from, you know, minus whatever to way over where you can't hear it, you know. That machine, the Moog synthesizer can do all sound, you know, all ranges of sound. So we did that on the end. So if you're a dog, you could hear a lot more.
So any dogs listening, we'll get this together.
Yeah, George can work it a bit, you know. I mean, it'll take you all your life to learn all the variations on it. But George has got one, and a few people in England have got them, and they're just sort of experimenting with them. It reminds me of sort of Buddy Holly in a way. You know.
Yes, I see what you mean. It's certainly that very strong melody line again. Is there any... I don't suppose there is any reason for when people write songs, but it seems such a dramatic change for George.
I don't know, you know. I mean, it's just the way he's progressing. He's writing all kinds of songs, you know. I mean, once the door opens, it's the floodgates open, you know. You can't sort of... It's an effort to concentrate on writing certain kinds of songs, you know. Like, I prefer writing just non-melodic, straight rock. But I can't help writing other things, you know, and I think that applies to all of us. Just the songs just come out, you know. Yoko plays classical piano, and she was playing one day, and I don't know whether it was Beethoven or something. I said, "Give me them chords backwards," and I wrote "because" on it, on top of it. Moonlight Sonata, backwards, something like that.
It also had the harmony structure is also slightly different from some of the harmonies that you've used in recording before.
I wouldn't know, you know. I mean, I just asked George Martin or whoever's around, saying, what's the alternative to thirds and fifths? They're the only ones I know. And he plays them on the piano. We say, "Oh, we'll have that one." You know. It was also a good way of getting rid of bits of songs we'd had for years. You know.
So this is again was a collective piece of songwriting, but it wasn't any.
Yeah, I mean, George and Ringo, in fact, sort of wrote bits of it as we did it. You know. Literally, you know, sort of in between bits and breaks into it. Paul would say, "We've got 12 bars here, let's fill it in," and we'd fill it in on the spot. You know.
I've noticed a couple of the songs also linked together. I mean, some of the characters.
Oh yeah, well that was just luck, you know. I mean, the bit my contribution to it is Polythene Pam and here Sun King and me and Mr. Mustard. So we just juggled them about till it made vague sense. And in Polythene Pam, I mean Mr. Mustard, I said his sister Pam, and originally it said his sister Shirley in the lyrics, so I changed it to Pam and make it sound like it had something to do with it.
Okay, well, we'll get into the first part of the medley, which is first part. Was this Paul on piano?
Oh, he's always on piano. You can't get him off.
Okay, you never give me money.
Right.
Well, the next track in the medley is the Sun King song.
That's where we pretend to be Fleetwood Mac for a few minutes.
And then you get into a sort of a language thing, which I couldn't figure out if it was some type of...
it's cod, you know.
Yeah.
See, we did the introductions, we call it the sun riff, the little instrumental bit that's like Fleetwood Mac before we start singing. And we did it again on the end. So when we came to sing it, to make them different, so it wasn't just the same riff, we just started joking, sing Cuando para mucho. So we just made up, Paul knew a few Spanish words from school, so we just strung any Spanish words that sounded vaguely like something. And of course we got Chica Ferdi, and that's a Liverpool expression, just like sort of, it doesn't mean anything, but it's Chica Ferdi. The one we missed, we should have had Paranoia, but we forgot all about it. We used to call ourselves Los Paranoias.
And so then what was the sort of any idea behind the Sun King? Does it have any sort of symbolism, or is it just...
No, it was just half a song I had, which I never finished, which was one way of getting rid of it without ever finishing it, And it sort of, the sort of medley went, and then we sort of wanted a change of atmosphere, so then here comes the Sun King, why not? And here he comes, and everybody's happy, and Cuando para mucho, etc., etc.
Paranoias.
Yeah, we might get a hit with that in those countries, if they take it off separate. Cake and eat it is another nice line too, because they have that in Spanish, quejan or something. So we just have cake and eat it.
Mean Mr. Mustard reminded me of the sort of songs that are probably about the Revolver time. I think it was that sort of tempo and that sort of...
Yeah.
Was it a song that you had from way back, or?
I wrote it in India, so that was pre the Beatles double album, so it's that old, and it was from some newspaper clipping that the title was Mean Mr. Mustard, about some guy had done something or other, but of course the story's nothing like him, it was like the newspaper title heading.
Yeah, because in fact it's quite short as well.
Yeah, well that's another half a song which I never finished, so I put it in there.
Mean Mr. Mustard. From Mean Mr. Mustard straight to Polythene Pam, who turned out to be Mean Mr. Mustard's sister. And this is sort of getting back into your actual rock and roll again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like everything in a way, sort of not fade away, and some, summertime blues and everything. That's another half a song I wrote in India, about a kinky girl in a polythene bag,
It was pre-bagism days, too, wasn't it?
Yes. Polythene bags.
See-through polythene bag.
Yeah, right. That's what she wears, See her in drag in a polythene bag.
Came in through the bathroom window. I read somewhere in the press that this was an idea that Paul had about, I think, during one of the American tours, a fan
no,
did
was,
this. Was there any truth in that?
It was when Paul and I went to America to publicise Apple about 2 years ago to announce the opening. And we were just in the flat we were staying in, and he just came out with that line, She came in through the bathroom window, so he'd had it for years, so he eventually finished it. Paul laid the strings on after we'd finished most of the basic track, I personally can't be bothered with strings and things, I like to do it with the group,
Yeah, because...
Whatever, or with electronics, I can't be bothered going through that hassle with musicians and all that bit, it's such a drag. Trying to get them together, but Paul digs that, so that's his scene.
Yeah.
So it was up to him where he went with the violins, really, what he did with them, and I think he just wanted a straight kind of backing, nothing freaky. The song is sort of vaguely gospel-y in a way. Sleep, little darling, don't you cry. All that bit is a bit gospel-y. That's the sort of what's really like the Maxwell Silver Hammer story again, really, like we've all got a great load to carry, But that's part of Golden Slumbers, really.
Yeah, well, yes, It's a sort of a logical follow, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of the one song really. That's the sort of chorus of Golden Slumbers.
And was this one that you all wrote, or was this a?
No, it's Paul's line.
This is Paul's line. And now we sort of move fairly logically to the end, which was just a way to finish it up, wasn't it?
Get out of that.
Yeah.
So we got
a way to close the show.
Yes.
And there's really not much more to be said about that, but we will come back after we...
What about Her Majesty?
Well, why don't we play the end first, and then...
Okay, right.
Well, then we'll let the silence run and do
Oh,
that.
yeah, so you're going to do it properly, okay.
Well, Her Majesty's a very fine girl, and one day I'm going to make her mine. It's got to be a fairly strong line, I think. Actually, when the double LP was released, at the time I did a similar program with Paul.
Yeah.
He played this to me.
Oh, did he?
At that time, yeah. In fact, it was on that tape when we were sort of just getting levels and things. And,
I see. Well, I think he did it again for this.
Yes, well, I'm sure he did, but he decided to sort of throw it away.
Yeah, he's had it round. You know, we always have tons of bits and pieces, you know, lying around for years. I've got stuff that I wrote around Pepper, you know, just still, because you start to lose interest in it a bit after you've had it for years, so I've never recorded it.
Do you ever sort of consider, giving this material to anybody else to
Yes,
record?
I keep meaning to. There's just one particular song I keep meaning to make a demo of, you know, to give to somebody or other, but I never get round to it. You know? So no doubt somebody will hound me for it now.
Yes, I'm sure they will. The fact that Her Majesty isn't listed on the sleeve is that any particular reason?
We'd like to have a joke at the end, you know, or a surprise, like on the end of what was it, Pepper or the Beatles? The Beatles double. Just something.
There was one on the end of Pepper, I can remember.
Yeah, and wasn't the...
Which was something at double speed.
Yeah, was that the one everybody thought was something obscene?
Yes, that's right.
It never was, you know.
All sorts of conjecture about that.
If you play it backwards and all that.
Yeah, all that scene, yeah.
Well, we listened to it backwards. It seemed to say something obscene, but we had no idea. It's just one of those things. So this is another one of them, you know.